I would like to officially call to order the 2024 convention of the New Democratic Party of Manitoba. Tonight on the campaign trail, our premier, who is just the best. Yeah. I am so proud to introduce you our leader, Bob Canadian.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What a response. What a great, good-looking room. Great to be at an NDP convention. Manitoba NDP convention. A round of applause, who's wearing hiking boots? All right. I just want to say, this is the best room to be in, and I'm so happy to be here. I have I've had a wonderful experience with NDP conventions over the years. My first ever NDP, is there any first-time attendees here today, by the way? Maybe by a round of applause, yeah? Let's welcome them and show them how much they appreciate it. That's what it's all about. My first NDP convention was in 2016, shortly after I'd been first elected as an MLA. I was an MLA, but I still checked the box for first-time delegate rate, so I saved $50 on my convention fee. We've since removed that option. This was one. I see the Turtle Mountain folks are getting rowdy over there talking about that. So this is one of your contemporaries that I'm talking about here. One of your contemporaries. At the time, this was 8 years ago or so. So at the time, I was, let's be charitable, I was in my early 30s, mid-30s, early to mid-30s. We could be nice. And so I'm calling, hey, will you come to the convention and will you support me? And this guy dead serious, you're too old. Wow. Ed Schreier was 33 years old when he became Premier of Manitoba. This side of the room is laughing. Turtle Mountain is applauding seriously. That's right. We need young leadership. That is amazing. So this person, heart of gold, dead serious. Well, you're too old. Ed Schreier was 33 years old when he became the Premier of Manitoba. But you know what? I'm willing to give you a shot. So thank you so much for coming here, because I'm so glad that working together with you folks over the past year, we've been able to show that Manitoba NDP old-timer that their confidence in this political project was right. We won. So glad you can make it, brother. We're always happy to have you here in Manitoba. And I know people are so excited to have a chance to meet with you and to talk about their passion and to hear about your vision for the future of Canada. No child is going to go to school hungry. If you were wondering why you knocked on doors, why you got people elected, this coming school year, when more kids are going to be able to learn because less of them are going hungry, that is why you showed up to volunteer and to hit the campaign trail. Yeah. So you got a pretty good education minister too. We got a ton of great ministers right across the board. But where is Transcona in the house here? Yeah? That's a very Transcona-ish yell. I'm glad to see Jagmeet sitting at your table. Yeah, that's awesome. Show him the ways. Take him to Little Bones, you know, take him up Day Street. Explain to him that even when you're there, you're still in West Transcona. So there you go. And then Transcona, you know, it has a proud blue-collar tradition. The rail yards. I mean, the hockey team, the Railers Express, right? And so that is the home of the blue collar, along with many other communities like Thompson and Brandon and other places in Manitoba. And so we've been very effective this year at bringing the blue collar back into the fold. And we've done that in part by cutting the provincial gas tax and making life more affordable for the average working person in Manitoba. I want to be clear in this room, the people of Manitoba will never forget her shameful conduct in the 2023 election. And we will never forget the PC party that used murder victims and their families as political props in a desperate bid to stay in power. The good news is that the people of Manitoba rejected that. The people of Manitoba said, we don't want to be divided. We want respect in our public discourse. And we want a government that is going to search the landfill. One of the other things that the Manitoba NDP actually loves, and I'll point out here that I've only listed 4 points in terms of what we've done. The other thing that Manitoba New Democrats love is a 5-point plan. Am I right? Absolutely, right? So what's the 5th point? What's the 5th point that I'm building up to here? Right? Well, the 5th thing that I'd say we've done in the first 6 months, the biggest positive changes to labor law in Manitoba in a generation. You gotta hang it away from this for 2.
Because I believe in my heart of hearts in this government.
We've got Zona Asaguera, Union Station, Mary Altamar from Transcona, Jennifer Chen, Port Richmond, Ron Custician, Dauphin, Michelle Schott, Kilbonan River East. We'll go back to the other side. Jamie Moses, St. Patel. Up the other side. Ian Bushy, Kewaitman, Glenn Samari, Brandon East, Tyler Glasgow, Larry Moriarty, David Ancraft, Waverly, Mithu Sandy, the Maples, the Annie Fontaine from St. John's, Mike Mirage, River Heights, Malaya Marcelino, Notre Dame, Tracy Schmidt, Rossmere, J.B. Devgan, McPhillips, Jalene Dela Cruz, Radisson, Logan Oxenland, Kirkfield Park, Elliot Kennedy, Assiniboia, Mike Morris, Brunel, Bill G. Jarrah, Burns, Billy Cross, St. River, Lisa Nail, Buck Wolf, Eric Redhead, Thompson. This is your team of New Democrats that form your government here in
so many reasons to be proud of. First and foremost, that this team took government away from the sniveling, lying conservatives.
We're not in the chamber, so I can say it now. But on a more serious level, there's a lot of firsts up here. You have the first Indigenous women to serve in a Manitoba cabinet. Your deputy premier is a black, non-binary person. You have the first turban-wearing Punjabi brother to serve in a government office. You have the first Marcelino from this generation to serve in cabinet. Yeah, you did it. But there's some other things to be proud of beyond like the notable firsts. I talked about a difficult, bruising election campaign in which the landfill became a topic of discussion. Not only did the people reject that, but they also elected MMIWG family members and advocates into cabinet. And when the PCs talked parental rights, they wanted to throw the stone and then hide their hand. They wanted to be able to kick up dust. They wanted to be able to target the vulnerable trans child in the local school and then walk away like nothing happened. But I want to send a message. If they throw that stone, it's not going to be the lonely trans child in the classroom that responds to the shade that they throw. It is going to be the government of Manitoba, the premier of this province, and the entire cabinet and government caucus that is to the 2023 election. And I've asked our caucus staff, every time we print a t-shirt or a poster, I want to have the initials DA on that shirt or on that poster. Because we would not be up here, we would not have made it if it was not for the late Danielle Adams, a wonderful MLA who served on behalf of the people. If at the end of all that hard work, more kids in Manitoba get to grow up and celebrate their 18th birthday, I think we'll all feel pretty good about that. Miigwech. Merci. Thank you very much.
Be at the first convention after winning. Leah, my sister, who's doing incredible work. She's a fierce fighter, as you know, for women, for Indigenous people, for all Manitobans. And just recently, really exciting announcement, she's been really fighting hard to bring in a red dress alert to acknowledge the Indigenous. And the pilot project can happen here in Manitoba. So we got that announcement, and big shout out to all the hard work you're doing. C'est vraiment un grand honneur d'être ici dans la province et c'est incroyable. C'est vraiment, je suis honoré. To be on the Treaty 1 territory and the homeland of the Red River Métis and home of the country's most popular premier. Also, might I add, I would say not just the most popular in the entire country, but the busiest premier, right? He's an author, he's a dad, he's the premier. He's also just, I've seen pictures of him doing all sorts of stuff. Like he is out there changing tires, baking bannock, he's milking cows. I mean, no wonder he's so popular, he's just doing everything. But honestly, I gotta say, last fall, all of you in this room, this incredible team, you really made history. You truly made history electing Premier Canoe. And everyone in this room did that. As the Premier said, this is a work, I think a labor of love that everyone in this room is such an incredible part of. And I know you're gonna keep that going, and you're gonna add another MLA to the government caucus when you take Tuxedo. In the election, so I'm feeling good about that. But I gotta tell you, I was truly inspired by Premier Canoe, by the New Democratic team, by all of you in your campaign. And I want to take a moment to talk about that. The campaign was inspirational not just for Manitobans, but I want you to know across the country. Because we saw that you were up against a very desperate conservative government. It was desperately trying to cling to power. And in that desperation, they ran a very ugly campaign. Very ugly and very divisive campaign, where they purposely tried to pit neighbors against neighbors. They wanted to pit Manitobans against each other. They leaned into division, and frankly, they leaned into racist campaign tactics. And as the Premier said, I don't think anyone should ever forget how the Conservatives try to politicize the deaths, the murders of Indigenous women. Truly shameful. And no one would have faulted you in face of such a divisive campaign to also respond with some division, but you didn't. The campaign that you ran was one of positivity, of unity, of one Manitoba, of bringing people together. And you fundamentally believed that Manitobans were better than this. And you were right. They were absolutely better than this. They rejected the division of Conservatives, accepted the message of unity. And more than just the message of positivity and unity, it was the concrete solutions, real, honest solutions to serious problems that people were facing. You proposed those, and you said, we can make things better. And people believed that. And so, c'était vraiment inspirant. Also really hopeful at the doorsteps. They were hopeful because they believed in Premier Canoe and the NDP team. They believed in your work and your commitment to investing in healthcare. So, no pressure, but there's a lot of weight on your shoulders. People are really hopeful, but I know you're going to be able to deliver, and you're already delivering. As the Premier said, you are delivering historic investments in a public healthcare system, hiring more healthcare workers, frontline workers. You're showing what it means to have a New Democrat government. Commitments to make birth control free in the province. Feeding children at school with a school food program to ensure that every kid has a nutritious meal at school. Investments to build affordable homes, making it easier to join a union and to be able to fight for better wages. And you're just getting started. This is incredible. I mean, it's fair to say what you've already accomplished and what you're already starting out in just half a year could have been a 4-year mandate of a government. But you're showing people again that New Democrats hit the road running and hit the ground running and want to get things done to make people's lives better. And I gotta say, it's more important than ever before to do this work because we know people are feeling squeezed right now. We know that life is getting harder and harder for people. I'm sure you've heard it. Cost of everything is getting more and more expensive. Rents are up, cost of groceries are up, cost of our cell phone bills and our internet fees, all these expenses are up. And we know what that's like. You Democrats understand that. That's why we're fighting back. I know what that's like. I can tell you that when I was 20, I know there's a lot of young people actually in the crowd. How many folks that are 20 out here? In the 20-ish range. There's one guy. There's a lot of young people out here, I know. Okay, 20-ish. There's some folks who are definitely not 20 that put their hands up. So that's cool. I gotta tell you, when I was 20 years old, I had a tough conversation with my mom about my kid brother having to come live with me. At home, my dad was struggling with an illness, he was struggling with an addiction through most of my childhood, so things were very up and down in the home. Things could be great sometimes. If you've ever lived with someone who's struggling with an addiction, things can be really scary sometimes. And so I had a tough chat with my mom that my sister was going away to school, I was already away for school, and my brother was gonna be left alone, and my dad was getting more and more unstable, and so I thought it would probably be safer for my brother for him to come live with me. And now as a parent, I can only imagine how tough that conversation was for my mom to admit that, yeah, she couldn't take care of her baby boy, that he was better off living with me. So he came to live with me, so I'm in university, third year university, taking care of a 15-year-old. Anyone have to take care of a teenager? Because what you're doing here in Manitoba, the work that you're doing here, what Premier Canoe is doing, struggling with my voice here a bit. I think the karaoke night went too hard. The work that you're doing here in Manitoba, the work that Premier is doing, the work that Premier Eby is doing in BC, the work that New Democrats are doing there in Elmer Transcona. We gotta build on the work of Daniel Blakey. We gotta build on. We can't get conservatives an inch. It's very familiar with that. Right now, before it even gets off the ground, he's trying to block the legislation. He voted against investments here in Manitoba. He voted against investments in housing. He voted against investments in childcare, in healthcare. When he was in government, the Democratic team, we need to defeat conservatives, not just in Manitoba, but across the country. The services that you need. We should have a healthcare system that works for us, where we invest in a public universal healthcare, not one that requires money out of pocket. And to do that, we've got an incredible provincial government that's fighting for public healthcare. And we need a federal government that's also equally committed to public universal healthcare, where you can get a family doctor when you need one, where homes are affordable, where people can young people can dream of owning a home, finding a place to call their own. Where you can work a job that pays the bills, allows you to afford the things that you need.
Astonishing, but not really astonishing when you realize that's the model. That's the model that they use. So in BC, hundreds of millions of dollars cut from health authorities. The guy who's running against me for the opposition party, there was land in our fastest growing city called Surrey, dedicated for a hospital. He sold the land, and not only didn't build the hospital, he sold the land. And then stood up in the legislature and bragged about it, that this was something he did. He returned it to the market so that it could realize its full productive capacity. And of course, there's a healthcare crisis in Surrey. There's so many people moving to that city. They desperately need the hospital. So the difference between an NDP government and these conservative governments, whatever they call themselves, is clearly the willingness to support and invest in and develop responsibly our public healthcare system, as opposed to pretending to care about healthcare and then doing everything you can to undermine it in the name of this ideological perspective that they have. And it doesn't matter if you're in BC or Manitoba, it's just so consistent. When I was coming out here and I was getting briefed by staff, here are some of the issues they faced around healthcare in Manitoba, I was like, man, they're all using the same playbook.
Yeah, no, well said. Is this mic working? Good. Okay, somebody just handed it to me, so I wanted to double check. No, well said. Here in Manitoba, we saw the closure of 3 of the biggest emergency rooms in the province, as you mentioned, and the bed closures meant that hundreds of staff were let go right as we were heading into COVID. Professionals to be able to take care of people in Manitoba. And so I think what you've done with your nurses collective agreements to say that we're going to have a path towards solid nurse to patient ratios, taking care of nurses, but also being able to deliver good quality patient care. Like, to me, that's a really, really interesting model. It's something that we're looking west to BC to wonder how we might be able to do something similar here in Manitoba.
Yeah, that's great to hear. It's with nurses and with any healthcare professionals, you can pour the water on the top of the bucket, but if there's a hole in the bucket, you're going to be working for a while. And retention of the healthcare workers we have, and making sure that they understand that they're respected, and ratios is one of the ways we've been able to communicate that to nurses. Like, if we don't hit this minimum number of maximum number of patients to nurse, we don't hit that target, then you get additional supports. So it's not like the health authority saves money by not staffing properly the nurses. If you're stressed out,
well, I think first and foremost, it's the great members of our team, people like Nahani Fontaine and Uzoma, who've been unequivocal on reproductive justice and about freedom for women and freedom for gender diverse folks. And we've got a ton of people, including Jolene, who introduced us. There she is. Who've been like adamant that free birth control, free contraception is essential for us to move forward. The fact that we're able to do that as an initiative that also speaks to affordability, to me that's great, right? Because it allows us to be able to talk in just kind of a common sense, everyday manner about this initiative, but it also speaks to some pretty fundamental values as New Democrats. So full credit to a lot of the women and non-binary folks on our team for really leading the charge and making us do this. And if I could tell a little secret, when we were costing this for our platform last year, we just looked at the BC budget, how much does that cost, and then we divided it by 4. So there might have been a little bit more modeling than that, but that's basically what we did. So once again, you're doing some great work to blaze the trail, and it's work that we take seriously, right? Because our values are very much aligned on this. And then we've done a few initiatives that are, I guess, related to that. So again, Nahani brought forward a bill to ensure that there's buffer zones around abortion providers, and we've obviously, which was like, so you're on the doorstep with somebody who's got anti-abortion views. What do you say? And then just said, well, it's non-negotiable. This is what the party stands for, right? And so that's a long-standing value that people in this room have been standing up for decades, and I'm proud that our government is able to contribute to that tradition.
We're in a debate in British Columbia right now around buffer zones around schools, around K-12, kindergarten through grade 7 in the high schools as well. Not a huge one, 20 meters, but we've had protests related to SOGI. I don't know if this means anything.
Parental rights would be the discourse in Manitoba
parental
for
rights,
people to be able to
parental rights protests. Anyway, so around the schools, we passed a law that said, look, if you're going to protest, just be far enough away from the schools so that the kids and the teachers are able to get there. Because we had people yelling at kids, we had people banging on the windows of the schools, going into the schools, just unbelievably bad conduct. And the Conservatives voted against it. And so when we're talking about a democracy and free speech, these incredibly important values, you want to protest whatever you want, that's the country we live in. But people also need to access services. They need to be able to access schools. They need to be able to access the abortion clinic. They need to be able to access the hospital. We had to put a law in place for hospitals as well, because we had people trying to get in to prove that COVID was a hoax, and yelling at healthcare workers about how they were trying to fool everybody about COVID. So, you know, it's a small group of people, but man, they can really cause a lot of challenge for people who are just trying to go with their lives and access basic services. And as New Democrats, I think it's so important that we have that value, that people are able to access services without being called names and feeling unsafe when they're accessing these services. They have every right to access, especially the public workers who are working at these facilities, who are just trying to support their communities and pay the rent.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. We actually have one of our MLAs who's in the room in the, I guess, the far stage left, Jim Malloway, who is part of the team who brought in the Human Rights Code in Manitoba in the 80s. And they were the ones who brought protection for LGBT folks, for that to be a protected characteristic under Manitoba's Human Rights Code. Again, that was subsequently by a later NDP government extended.
From a private conversation that we had on the landfill search issue, do you mind? I just want to say to people in the room that Dave was unabashedly clear when the landfill issue was starting to be drummed up by the PCs here in Manitoba. Dave was very clear in behind the scenes conversations. He said, you should be out there every single day talking about this. This is a national shame that the families of these murder victims are forced to stand on the side of the road to demand dignity. And so you deserve a ton of props and a ton of credit. I want folks to give you credit because, you know, your words and you know the clarity that you're able to provide from a distance did help to inform the work of our team. Like when you're in the cut and thrust of it on a day-to-day basis, you're like, oh, well, I don't know, like, well, where are we going to go? And then sometimes you hear the perspective such as yours, and you're like, yeah, of course we're going to do the right thing. Of course we're just going to reject division, and we're going to reject the dog whistle, and we're going to call it out. We're just going to move ahead in accordance with the path that we know is right. And so if there's anything that we learned in our recent campaign here, with the landfill surge, with the personal attacks that were levied against many of the candidates who you see here in this room, with the parental rights issue, I would say there's often a propensity, there's often a desire when we're doing those strategy sessions around the political table, when the other side
To see everybody. My name is Evan Crosby, him from Provincial Executive. Some of you may know me as the Provincial Secretary. Some of you may know me as the guy you get the annoying emails from. But regardless, it's very nice to be here and lovely to see such a great crowd out here today.